Hey everyone, today we're going to look at how to apply quadratic equations. So if you'll recall in our last lesson, we talked about when we are solving equations, quadratic equations by factoring, we always set those equal to 0. So we're going to review that, but I want to show you how to do this on a calculator. So quadratic functions, which we said is a squared plus bx plus c, that's the standard form of a quadratic equation. It forms something called a parabola. That's the shape of the graph. Well, whenever like this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. When we solve equations, quadratic equations, and we find the zeros, we're finding when x equals 0. So we're finding these 2 points, or 1 point, or however many times the equation crosses the x-axis. Those are your zeros or your solutions. So I want to show you how to do this on a calculator. So let's take a look at the first example. We have negative 16x squared plus 72x plus 88. Well, remember, we want to set this equal to 0. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Except now I'm going to go over to Desmos. I'm going to type that in. Negative 16x squared plus 72x plus 88 equals 0. And I want you to notice, find your x-axis and look right here. This crosses at -1, 0. So -1 is my first solution or my first 0. And the other one is 5.50. That is, sometimes you'll hear that called the x-intercept. We talked about that with linear functions. But with quadratics, we call them the zeros. So what are my solutions to this equation, quadratic equation? You have x equals -1 and x equals 5.5. Remember, you could write it like this as a number set as well. So that's how you use the calculator to find your solutions or to solve quadratic equations. Let's do a couple more. So the next one I want us to solve is a squared minus 8a equals -15. So let's type that in our calculator. And remember, any letter that they use, you can replace with the letter x. They used a, I'm going to use x. So x squared minus 8x equals -15. So I'm going to find my zeros. My first one is at 3, 0. Okay, and my other one is at 5, 0. So what is my solution to this quadratic equation? X equals 3 and x equals 5. Also, I'll write it as a number set so you can get used to that. So these are my solutions. Let's practice one more. So I have 5 times 5b minus 4 equals 12. So I'd like for you to pause the video and actually find that and then come back and check, see how you did. There we go. So I'm going to type this in as 5 times, or parenthesis, 5x. I think that's supposed to be 5x squared. I may have written that wrong. Minus 4. Actually, I think I left out an x. Let me double check. Let me go back in my notes and rewrite that. Yes, that should be 5b times 5b minus 4. Sorry about that. All right, so 5x times 5x minus 4 times, or closing parenthesis, equals 12. So when I look at that parabola, I want to find my 2 zeros here. So the first one is -0.40 negative 0.40, and the second zero or solution is 1.20. So what's the solution to this quadratic equation? I have x equals negative 0.4 and x equals 1.2. So now that we know how to use the calculator to answer this, let's look at some application problems. Typically, they'll have to do with area, so that's the one I'm going to practice. So pause the video and copy this problem, please. So it says the length of a photo is 3 centimeters less than twice the width. So when we think of a photo, we have length and we have width. So let's say our width is here, and it says the length is 3 centimeters less than, that means minus 3, but flip it, and then twice the width. I find that sketching the picture helps me. Then it tells you that the area, which is, remember we do length times width to find the area, is 54 cubic centimeters. Square centimeters. Sorry about that. Here are some questions that you might be asked. They might ask you something like, what is the width? They might ask you, what is the length? They might even ask you, what are the dimensions? Like you've heard of a picture that's a 4 by 6 or a 3 by 5. Let me show you how to do this. Well, didn't we say that area is length times width? Or in this case, I put the W over here. I can say W times 2W minus 3, length times width, equals the area of 54. Now watch this. I'm going to go type that into my calculator. I'm going to say X times, remember we make all the letters X, times 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3 equals, and I think we said 54. Yes. So when I look at this, I notice I have one x at negative 4.5 and another x at 6, so, or another 0 at 6. So let me write these down. X at negative 4.5 and another one at 6. Now let's think about what makes sense in this situation. Can I have a side length that is negative? No, it doesn't make sense. So when you do these, if one of your zeros is negative, it's out. It doesn't make sense. It's not a solution to this quadratic equation. So now I can answer my questions. It says the length of a photo is 3 centimeters less than twice the width. So that means this is my length and this is my width. So now I said X, but remember that's what I said instead of W. My width is 6 centimeters. So what is my length going to be? Well, the length is 2 times W minus 3. So 2, let me write that down. I'll just plug it in. 2 times 6 minus 3. And then I solve that. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 minus 3 is 9 centimeters. What are my dimensions? 6 by 9, or 6 inches by 9. So that is how we apply solving quadratic equations.